The studio lights were warm, almost comforting. The Today Show with Jenna and Friends had that familiar morning glow, soft music, cheerful chatter, and a smiling audience ready for a feel-good segment. Blake Shelton walked onto the set to loud applause, tipping his head politely, wearing his usual relaxed grin. To millions watching at home, it looked like just another friendly celebrity interview. But behind that smile, something felt off. Jenna greeted Blake with enthusiasm, joking about his country roots and teasing him about life after The Voice. Blake laughed, nodding along, but his eyes didn't fully match the humor. He sat back in his chair, arms crossed loosely, posture casual but guarded. At first, everything flowed smoothly. They talked about his new music, his ranch life, and how fame hadn't changed his love for simple living. The audience laughed when Blake cracked a joke about being too old for Hollywood drama. Jenna smiled, but there was a pause, a subtle one most people wouldn't notice. Then the tone shifted. Jenna leaned forward slightly, glancing at her cue cards. "So, Blake," she said, still smiling, "people online are saying you've been distant lately. Some even think you're avoiding certain conversations." The room felt quieter. Blake raised an eyebrow. "Avoiding conversations?" he repeated calmly. Jenna laughed it off. "You know how rumors are. Fans are curious, especially about your recent decisions. The shows you turned down and, well, some comments you made." Blake's smile faded just a fraction. The co-host chimed in, trying to keep it light. "They say fame comes with questions, right?" Blake nodded slowly. "Questions are fine," he said. "Assumptions are different." A few audience members shifted in their seats. The energy had changed, like a cloud passing over sunlight. Jenna pressed on. "There are people who feel you've been dismissive toward younger artists and certain movements in the industry," she said carefully. "Do you think that's fair?" Blake inhaled deeply. You could almost see him choosing his words. "I've been in this industry a long time," he replied. "I respect talent. What I don't respect is being told who I'm supposed to be to make other people comfortable." The audience clapped, but not as loudly as before. Jenna nodded, but instead of moving on, she followed up. "Some would say that's exactly the problem, Blake." That's when the tension snapped into focus. Blake leaned forward now, elbows on his knees. "With respect," he said, voice still controlled, "this was supposed to be about music." The studio went silent. Cameras zoomed in. Producers behind the scenes exchanged nervous looks. This wasn't in the script. Jenna hesitated, then smiled tightly. "We're just asking what viewers are already discussing." Blake sat back, jaw tightening. "Then maybe viewers should get the full story," he said. "Not a headline version." The storm was building, and everyone could feel it. The air felt heavier now, like something irreversible was about to happen. Jenna tried to regain control, laughing softly. "Blake, no one's attacking you. It's just conversation." Blake shook his head. "That's the thing," he said. "It stops being a conversation when you already decided the answer." The co-host attempted to redirect. "Let's talk about your upcoming tour." But Jenna interrupted, glancing at Blake. "One last thing," she said. "Some critics believe you've benefited from the industry while resisting change. How do you respond to that?" The audience gasped quietly. Blake froze. For a moment, he didn't speak at all. His eyes scanned the studio, cameras, crew, smiling faces now tense with anticipation. This wasn't just an interview anymore. This was a confrontation. "Wow," Blake finally said, letting out a short laugh that held no humor. "You know, I agreed to come here because I thought this was a safe place for artists." Jenna's smile faltered. "It is." "Doesn't feel like it," Blake replied. The producer's voice crackled faintly in Jenna's earpiece, but she didn't stop. "People look up to you," she said. "Don't you think you owe them accountability?" That was it. Blake stood up. The movement was sudden enough to startle everyone. Chairs scraped softly as he pushed his back. "Owe them?" he repeated, voice firm now. "I owe my fans honesty. I don't owe anyone a performance designed to fit a narrative." Gasps echoed through the studio. Jenna stood halfway, hands raised. "Blake, sit down. This isn't necessary." But Blake was already removing his mic. "What's not necessary," he said, "is turning a morning show into a trial." The co-host tried to intervene. "Let's take a breath." Blake shook his head. No, I've done this long enough to know when respect leaves the room. The cameras stayed live. Millions watched as Blake picked up his jacket, slung it over his shoulder, and looked directly at Jenna. I came here to talk about music and life, he said. Not to be cornered. Jenna's voice softened. That wasn't the intention. Intent doesn't erase impact, Blake replied. And with that, he walked off the set. The audience sat frozen. The theme music didn't play. No one knew what to do. The screen faded to commercial, but the damage was already done. Within minutes, social media exploded. Clips of Blake storming off the Today Show spread like wildfire. Headlines appeared instantly. Blake Shelton walks out. Shocking live TV moment. Tension on morning show. Fans took sides. Some praised Blake for standing his ground, calling it long overdue honesty. Others accused him of being defensive, saying he couldn't handle tough questions. Behind the scenes, the studio was chaos. Producers whispered urgently. Jenna sat quietly, staring at her cue cards. Her confident morning show energy replaced by visible shock. The co-host avoided eye contact, knowing this moment would follow them for years. Hours later, Blake broke his silence, not with anger but with calm. In a short statement, he said, I respect journalism. I respect conversation. But respect has to go both ways. That single sentence hit harder than any rant could. Industry insiders weighed in, revealing that Blake had asked beforehand to keep the interview focused on his work. Others claimed producers wanted a viral moment. If that was the goal, it worked. But at what cost? The Today Show released a statement, emphasizing their commitment to open dialogue. Jenna later addressed the moment on air, saying emotions can run high in live television. Yet something had changed. Viewers noticed the shift. Morning TV suddenly felt less safe, less warm. Celebrities became more cautious. Interviews felt rehearsed, guarded. As for Blake, he disappeared from the spotlight for a while. No interviews, no talk shows, just music. When he finally returned to the stage weeks later, the crowd erupted louder than ever. He didn't mention the incident directly, but he didn't need to. Sometimes walking away says more than staying ever could, and that moment, Blake Shelton standing up, unplugging his mic, and choosing silence over spectacle, became one of the most talked about live TV moments of the year, not because of shouting, but because of what he refused to accept.